If you want to travel in Kenya without spending too much money, this is how I do it. This is Wangeshi here, and welcome to Adventure Series with Wangeshi, and welcome to another episode. And today I'm so happy and excited to bring you this episode and to try and explain how I get to travel around without spending too much money and doing it affordably, and also to be able to sustain my YouTube channel and not to feel drained while I'm doing it, because number one, I enjoy traveling a lot, and but I also want to make sure that I travel without spending too much money and without feeling like I'm going broke, and also without feeling that it's become such a big burden. And let's just get into it. And as you know, my YouTube channel is more about is an adventure channel. That's why it's called Adventure Series with Wangeshi. And most of the time I do traveling. A lot of the time, a lot of my videos are more of traveling, and mostly traveling outside of Nairobi, because I am located in Nairobi. And whilst I'm traveling, I don't travel alone. I travel with my partner Phil. And there's a lot that goes into being able to travel economically, right? Because I want to be able to do it long term, and so I don't want to get to a place where I feel like I'm already exhausted, or like the traveling and doing YouTube and making these memories is becoming a burden in terms of finances in our household. Yeah, let's go through a little bit of the steps that I take to ensure that I'm doing it sustainably, because that's what you want. That's what we all want. I feel like if you have the funds and the resources to be able to do it without a worry, that's good, and that's actually a very good thing. But if you are growing, if you're still growing, and you want to be able to become financially stable, and to also, even if you're financially stable, you want to not overdo things, yeah, for the sake of yourself, for the sake of your future. We are traveling. I want to make sure that while we are traveling, and while we are making these memories, and while I'm continuing to create content and do what I love, which is I love traveling a lot, I want to make sure that it's sustainable and it's economical. And I want to take you through some of the steps that I do to ensure that it's within the budget. There are months where I actually feel like I want to take a break from traveling, which, like, for example, this month of April, I took a break. I've taken a break from traveling because the past few months I had been traveling back to back. So there are months where I do take a break, but also when I take that break, I ensure that the previous month that I was traveling, that I have enough content to be able to sustain my YouTube. So let me take you through the steps that I do and go through while I am trying to travel, and make sure that what I'm doing while creating content and traveling is sustainable. So one of the number one steps, and the big steps, is choosing a budget. So every single month I have to pick a budget that I know that I want to ensure that I am maintaining, and that I'm within that budget. And if I go above that budget, it has to be a minimum of 1,000 or 2,000 above the budget. So for example, if I have picked that this month, let's say this month of April, I've picked this month of April that I want to spend 5,000 Kenyan shillings on traveling. I know it sounds crazy, but it's doable. But if, for example, I have picked that this month of April I'm only going to spend 5,000 Kenyan shillings, if something happens, and maybe there were more expenses while we were traveling, or the budget exceeded, I ensure that it exceeds either 1,000 or 2,000, and that's the most it can go. I cannot surpass more than that. So I ensure every month that I stick within the budget and the guidelines of that budget. So for example, if we have chosen to go outside Nairobi, ensure that if the budget of that month is 5,000, that it doesn't exceed 5,000, and if it does, it's just maybe 1,000 or 2,000. Another thing I do, I book places in advance, and I also pick the off-peak seasons. A good example is right after December holiday. Right after the December holiday, in January and Feb, a little bit like right before Valentine's. That period is a good period to pick places that you have been wanting to go to, or that you have been wanting to experience, especially if you're not going camping. Like, the off-peak seasons are mostly if I am going to try and go to a cabin or hotel, or like any place that is not camping. So a lot of those times I pick the off-peak seasons, and it's between January, the beginning of January, and right before Valentine's. Then on Valentine's, if you want to do something, you can be able to do that. But what I would advise you is to actually book the place in advance. So what happened, like this past Valentine's, we had booked the place I think 3 weeks or something like this. Yeah, like 3 weeks or 2 weeks in advance, and that helped us a lot because we actually got, like, I think a 20% off discount for during in our stay, which we stayed at Moore Hills Getaway, and I think we got either 20% discount or something like that. I don't remember how much it was. So we had booked in advance, and that helps a lot. And then after that, the other months, I also pick, if I am not going camping, I pick the places to go depending on the months. If like the month of April, that's like for me a no go to like different places, because the month of April is a peak season. It's a peak month. A lot of the hotels, because kids are off school, the hotel prices are usually not the best to do it. So right after April, you go to May. So after May, during May, you can now start picking the places you want to. And then in August, get off the place, then start after that. Maybe October, September, you can also try those months. And November, especially November, there's usually so many deals and that. Then in December, I am off of travel, of staying in places, but also to be honest with you, every single January, well, the New Year's, we do go somewhere. We do go a place. Is a tradition that we've been doing for a while now, where we go to a place and we usually do book it in advance. If we don't book it in advance, we just pay the amount that is necessary there. But that is usually just a family tradition. It's not something that usually I would post it or for my content creation. Maybe someday I'll do that. Another thing is, whenever we are traveling, another important thing is picking your transport. Choosing what you're going through. If you're going to use if you're going to use public transportation, if you have your own car, how much are you willing to spend? For example, when you're using your own car, you have to fuel. So fueling has to be in the budget of every time or every month. If you're going monthly, or you're going after every 2 months or after every 3 months, you have to budget on fuel, and you also have to choose whether you want to use public transportation or whether you want to use your own car. Take, for example, the last month we traveled to Nanyuki by train, and so in that I had to budget the amount of money that we had to pay for 2 people for first class to go to Nanyuki, to and back, and also I had to put in the Uber money, like the Bolt money. Like you have to put in the amount you are willing to spend on taxis. Yeah. So if we are not using our car when we're traveling somewhere, which is also another good example, is when you're going to Mombasa, you can fly there or you can use the SGR, and in that you also have to put in the amount of money that you want to spend on taxis. And so with that you have to gauge in how much money. And sometimes, I have to be honest with you, sometimes when we are traveling or using our own car, we have to spend a lot of money on fuel. But sometimes what comes with that is there's a lot of comfortability. And if you know us, and if you've watched our channel for a long time, you know that we like our comfort. And our comfort means that not hustling to look for Ubers or whatever, just use our car. And one of the big things that we had done last year is we were able to travel from Nairobi to Mombasa using our car. And it was quite a road trip. I'm not quite sure if we'll ever do that road trip again, but it was very interesting. But then we were able to use our car, moving around, going to different places that we wanted to do. We didn't get to use we didn't pay for Ubers or whatnot. But I think it was not cheap going there, because we had to fuel a full tank from here to Nairobi, and also fuel from Nairobi, from here Nairobi to Mombasa, and from Mombasa to Nairobi. And as you know, that fuel is not cheap, so you have to make sure that you choose the right one for you, that is sustainable for you. And when we went to Nanyuki using the train, I think it was relatively good, very, very good. It was cheap. And since we are talking about economic, being able to travel to a place economically and making sure it's sustainable, I would really recommend using public transportation. Yeah, public transportation, because for example, if you're using the SGR to go to Mombasa, it's 1,200, I think, if you're using the economy. And also when you're coming back, so if it's for one person, that is like 2,000 or 2,400. And if it is two people, then times two, then you do the math there, right? And then being moving around in Mombasa, you can just use tuk-tuks, which is very, very, very affordable. So that alone, let's even say, for example, if you put a budget of 7,000, that alone is just, if you have a small car, that alone is just fueling a small car just to get there, and then fueling again another maybe 7,000 to 8,000 to come back. So I think I would really, really recommend using public transportation. And also, if you're, for example, if you're going to like a place like Nanyuki or Naivasha, you can use public transportation. It's much cheaper for you. But if you have your own car, it's also very good, and that's what I prefer using. So you have, when you're planning, when you're traveling, and you really want to make sure that it's sustainable for you, you have to make sure that you pick the right mode of transportation for you, that is going to be economical and that is budget friendly to you, to your pocket. And if budget is not a problem, then you choose the best of the best for sure. Yeah. Number 3 is, I don't know if we are on point 3 or 4, but the other point is ensuring that you pick the affordable stay. So for me, how I go about it is I actually do extensive research. I know whenever, you know, when we're creating videos, it looks so easy, it looks like it's just packing and going, but that's not true. That's not true. There's a lot of planning that goes into making sure that we bring you these videos and we go to these different places. There's so much that goes into it, and I can guarantee you that I do spend a lot of time making sure that I am researching, that I'm on TikTok researching, I'm on YouTube, I'm on different platforms doing my research, googling, and then also making sure that I compare the prices. I compare the prices also with the months. You know, if I see, for example, if there's a place that I want to go and the price for that month is a bit higher, but then the next month, because it's the off season, is going to be a bit lower, so I move the dates and I move the plan. I make sure that also my planning is, and my scheduling is very flexible, so that I'm not stuck into like, okay, I am going to be stuck on making this video this day, or I'm going to be traveling this time and this is the only thing I can do and I cannot change my plans. No. I make sure that everything is very flexible for me to be able to move my dates, shift my dates. Like one of the things that happened is when we were traveling to Nanyuki, I had picked that a specific week to be able to go to Nanyuki. But then what happened is that the train was completely booked. So what I did is I did not pay or book the hotels or pay for them. I made sure, first of all, I picked up that I booked the train, called them, and made sure that that week was available for us. But unfortunately, that week that I had picked, it wasn't available. So I moved the dates to the next week, and also moved the dates and I also made sure that I called the hotels to rebook and do the necessary things so that they can align with the dates. Okay, so I'm telling you, when you're traveling and when you're doing this kind of content, if you want to become a traveling content creator, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. And another thing that I do when I'm booking for my stays is I also camp. I also look for the most affordable ways to be able to travel and also be able to enjoy myself, which is camping. So if you've watched my videos, and if you haven't, I would encourage you to please take time to watch some of my content, which is a lot of fun and adventuring. Is I do camp, and I camp a lot. Yeah, I have made sure that I've bought enough camping gear to be able to camp, so that if that particular month that I've picked that I want to spend very little money, I ensure that that is the month that I pick to go camping. Yeah, so like for example, if you want to go camping, you can go camping for 500 shillings. There are places where you can go camping for 500 shillings per person. There are places where you can go camping for 1,000 shillings per person. There are places you can go camping for 1,500 shillings per person. There are very, very, very many affordable places where you can go camping with you and your family, and it's budget friendly, and you get to create memories, and you get to go out of Nairobi. You get to go and for a holiday, maybe for a chill out, for a getaway. You can do these things, honestly, on budget. Sometimes I think we've gone camping and we haven't exceeded more than 3,000, really, including food. That is including food, but this is also something I'm going to talk about a bit later. So I make sure that I pick affordable stays. I do my extensive research. I book in advance, and I also make sure that it's within my budget. Another place, for example, there's a place that I have been looking forward to going to staying, which is I'm probably going to in the coming weeks. And every time I've tried to go and book, it's completely booked. And also every time that I'm going to try and go and book it, sometimes the price is it's off. It's up and down, up and down, and up and down. So I have left it alone. I still want to go to that place, but I'm going to wait for the right time, the right price, and when it's not that completely booked. So I'm still looking forward to doing it. So you have to do your research. You have to make sure that you're not just booking anyhowly because you want to do. Make sure that when you're wanting to go to traveling, that your traveling is flexible, your schedule is flexible, that your traveling plans you can be able to change them in and out. Yeah, but also, speaking of that, I think that would be maybe unfair to those people who have children, I think, and you want to go traveling with your kids. I don't know, you have to do your own research about that. Also, another thing I do is I am mindful on the amount of money that we are spending on food and snacks, especially when we're traveling. So again, I am going back to, if you haven't watched my videos, please do go back, because again, like I said, I do camp. So while we are doing on the months that we are doing camping, we carry our own food, which is very budget friendly. If we're not carrying our own food, I ensure that I have checked on the menu of the places we are going, because some of the menus are online. You can be able to go on maybe their website of the place that you're going, or you can be able to go on maybe their Instagram, their social media handles. They usually have the prices there, or maybe you can also be able to go and maybe do your research on maybe from someone who has traveled to that place before, or just most of the time I just find their menus on their social media handles or on Google, and this is how I ensure that we are within the budget. So I am checking how much money we need to spend on food, and making sure that I know how much money we are going to spend on snacks and the necessary things we do. But a lot of the times also we actually buy snacks before we go there ahead on time, or we carry snacks that we have at home, and also sometimes we carry food that we've made at home and we just go there and warm it. If it's, for example, for hotels that you're going to, you have to ensure that you have checked on the budget that you have, if it's inclusive of breakfast, if it's inclusive of lunch, or like half board or full board. You have to make sure that you are checking those things. Like, for example, for the place that we stayed last, which is at the Aberdare Royal and Prestige, Aberdare Prestige and Royal Cottages, I think, or Royal and Prestige, no, I think Aberdare Prestige and Royal Cottages in Nanyuki. The amount we paid there, which was 14,000 Kenyan shillings, it was actually inclusive of half board and full board. You'd, they give you an option of choosing a smaller room, and then you do the full board, or the room that we were, and then we went for half board. So some places have like really good prices where you are able to eat all the meals throughout the day. But we chose a bigger room and did the full the half board, because we had already had like enough breakfast from the previous place we were going. But if we had gotten there like maybe a little bit earlier, I think we would have maybe opted for the full board. But you have to do your research. You have to make sure that you're within the budget, but also the budget that you're within, is it inclusive of breakfast, is it inclusive of the food? And if it's not, then what are you going to do about it? Is the food that they're offering there, is it affordable? Can you be able to afford that food? Because there are also places where they are very expensive. Their meals are expensive, but their rooms are cheap. You know what I mean? So you have to make sure that you do your research. So for me, I make sure that I know that I've gone online on social media, that I've gone on Google, that I've Googled all those things. So this is why I'm telling you, but that the content that we bring you as content creators and people who are traveling and doing like full-time traveling, to be able to bring you content, that there's a lot of research that goes into that. And maybe even not just content creator, there are people who are just traveling with their families and whatnot. I do think that there's a lot of research that goes into, and that's exactly what I do. That before I go somewhere, I have made sure that even when I'm going camping, which is an interesting thing for me to bring up, that when I'm going camping and I'm not actually bringing or maybe I don't want to go and cook there, if maybe it's for a day or something, that I am also making sure that I do my research on those places, that if the place has a restaurant, and if how much they are charging their food, the prices of the food there. Another example, that we stayed at the villas in Nanyuki, their food was so affordable. Their food was so affordable. That's a place that I would recommend, especially for families. And to be honest with you, whenever I am doing this planning and scheduling and unscheduling and zigzagging in my life as a content creator, full-time doing content creation and also doing a lot of traveling for me and my partner, I sort of have to have like a calmness. Like my mind has to be, yes, sometimes it can be very difficult, but I ensure that I'm not overstressing about things if something is not working out. If, for example, my monthly that budget for that month, because as you've heard, when I'm mentioning like the prices, like when we went to Nanyuki, we stayed at a place for 5,000 the first night, and then the second night we stayed at a place for 14,000. So the budgets can be different, you know what I mean? And there are months where I'm willing to spend 20,000 or more than 20,000, or there are months where I'm not willing to go above 5,000. There are months where I'm willing to splurge. There are months where I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. There are months where it depends. It really always depends on where I am at during that month, and how much I'm willing to spend, and also how I am feeling. Really, honestly, to be honest with you, it also usually depends on how I am feeling, because, like, for example, this month of April, like I said in the beginning, I took a break from traveling, not because I'm not going to continue traveling. Yes, I am. I have plans to continue doing so, but it also depends where I am, how I am feeling, and also pocket wise, am I willing to spend that much money, and also what else I do, because sometimes, you know, all of us as human beings, we have different projects, we have different things that we are doing, we have family responsibilities, we have other responsibilities, so all those things factor in my mindset, where I or how I am with my planning every single month. And my planning sometimes can be monthly, and sometimes it can be in months in advance. You know, I do have, like, sometimes a schedule where I schedule myself, like, from this month to this month, what am I doing, and how much money am I willing to spend during those months, and is it sustainable for me? If there's a project that I'm doing, then that means then the budget of whatever traveling that I'm doing is going to be affected. And also then what I'm going to do that is adjust, is make sure in between the staying in hotels, in between whatever I'm doing, there is camping, there is different activities, like just doing activities within Nairobi, where I'm not where I'm not spending a lot of money, because to be honest with you, there's so many things that you can do in Nairobi where you don't have to get out of town. That means that you're saving on fuel, that means you're saving on a lot of things. There are also things that you can do an hour away from Nairobi, that means also you're also saving on fuel, you're saving on a lot of things. So all these factors, there's so many factors that go into my planning and my scheduling for traveling. And I'm hoping that me bringing you this episode today and explaining to you how I plan and how I budget my traveling and my expenses, that it's helped you and encouraged you to start traveling. If you haven't started traveling, please just know that you can travel on budget. You can. It is very, very possible. And I guess for me, it is because I'm very passionate about traveling, and I've been doing this for many years. And I decided to actually just start YouTube last year. Yes. And just, you know, create memories. But before I started YouTube, I was still traveling before. So it's literally from also experience, and I'm also learning, and I'm also willing to relearn. You know, you have to be open to attaining knowledge. Sometimes there are people who I watch on YouTube or social media, and they're doing traveling, they're doing more than I'm doing, and I'm always willing to learn and gain knowledge from them, because you have to be open to learning from other people, because sometimes you might be making mistakes, sometimes you might think that you're doing the right thing, and you are not. And so for me, I always have an open mind to learning from other people, other content creators, other people who are traveling, other people who are doing great, you know, with budget and stuff like that. And so for me, that's something that I'm open with, and I'm hoping that this has helped you to get a bit of knowledge on what you can do, how I go about my schedule, how I go about my traveling, how I go about my spendings, and to encourage you that you should get out there, you should start creating memories with you and your family, and just know that there's so many possibilities of where you can go to in Nairobi, where you can go to out of Nairobi, in Kenya in general. Everywhere in Kenya, there's always a possibility of making it as cheap as possible. You know what I mean? So thank you so much for joining me in this episode, and I am really excited to be bringing you another episode the next Monday, because it's going to be epic. And I do post every single Monday around 5 to 6 p.m. Kenyan time. Thank you so much, and thank you for those who have been subscribing and joining this little family, and I'll see you in my next adventure.